What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Great weekend of sports. Great look ahead here towards the week. Got the conference finals matchups in the NBA almost set in the NHL as well. And a lot of other shit going on. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNench, and let's just go ahead and hop right into what I think everybody's wanting to hear from me. What's the most popular thing to talk about right now, which is kind of overshadowing the playoffs, which is kind of insane. For those of you who don't know, most of you do who are listening. That's probably why you're listening, because you know this about me. I'm a diehard Grizzlies fan, lifelong fan. I literally bleed this team. I bleed Beale Street blue. All my blood, sweat, and tears go into enjoying this team, watching these games, learning about, the breaking down film study and all this type of stuff with this team. And if you know me at all, this is my passion, is the Memphis Grizzlies. And it came out over the weekend, more of Sunday morning. I wake up at 9 o'clock. I looked at my phone, as I always do when I wake up, to see notifications, and I get a text message from someone, and it's a picture of Ja Morant holding up a gun on Instagram Live. And at first I was just like, this has got to be like fake in some way, or it's got to be a fake gun or whatever. I go to Twitter, and my God, was I going to be completely wrong. It was on one of his friends' Instagram Live that it was shown that Ja Morant had a gun, was flexing it during a song for a half a second, immediately as whoever the guy is with the camera put it down and tried to hide it after Ja flashed it. This obviously created an uproar throughout the NBA, the media, and everything around it. And you're probably here right now for my reaction. You want to know what I think. You want to know how I'm feeling about this all. And to be honest with you, I don't really know. I really don't know how to feel. I'm not pissed off. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. I'm really disappointed in him. Like, it hasn't even been 3 months since the last time that this happened. And you hear him talk about it all the time, like, it's a work in progress. I'm trying to get better. I realized I messed up. I made a mistake. And it's just like, do you really realize you messed up, or you really realize you made a mistake because you're just going to go ahead and go do it? Granted, was Ja planning on his friend going on Instagram Live while they were all in a car together? Not necessarily, maybe. But Ja's got to have some situational awareness to where there's a car, or they're in a car, there's a phone out. Obviously, you don't want to be shown with anything because of potential leaks. Even if it doesn't get posted anywhere, something could get leaked out. It's easy to hack people's phones these days. So you got to have some situational awareness. And it's just kind of disappointing to see, because it's like, come on. We've been through this thing already. You've seen how much it's hurt our team morale, our team outlook, the organization's outlook on you, and how everybody views our organization. It's super disappointing. I don't really know how to feel. Again, this is just all within the same day of this happening. So I'm still kind of like riding the wave of emotions throughout what had happened. It was said by Adrian Wojnarowski on the NBA Countdown before the game that it looks like Ja is going to be facing a hefty suspension, big suspension to start the season. And I don't doubt it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 20 to 30 games. Honestly, this is not his first time. Granted, did he do anything wrong legally? Probably not. You're allowed to carry a weapon in the state of Tennessee. It's not illegal. But this is your second time being an offender of this incident of showing a gun on Instagram Live. Granted, are you at a club this time? No, but you're driving in a car, right? You don't know where that leads. You don't know what could have came from it. Obviously, and luckily, nothing has with the gun. But obviously, there's a repercussion that's going to happen because of it. It's just so disappointing. It's so disappointing as a fan of not only the team but Ja himself. When he got drafted here in 2009 or 2019, I immediately bought his jersey. I've since bought like 5 more of his jerseys. Once he was drafted, I saw his tape. I saw a lot of things about him, and I'm like, this is going to be my favorite player now. Because Mike Conley had just gotten traded, right? I love Mike Conley forever. Mike Conley will forever be my favorite basketball player of all time. But I was like, you know what? Ja is going to be my guy. This is the guy that's going to take over for me now. And it was just a complete disappointment to see this happen from him when I thought that there was going to be a chance that we were actually going to see some change from him. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I really hope he still gets the help he needs, because there's obviously something going on in his head where it's just like he's not even thinking about anything. Like a couple days ago, they announced the All NBA first team, second team, and third team, and Ja, if he were to make one of those All NBA teams, he would have been eligible for an extra $40 million or whatever throughout the rest of his contract, and he did not. He did not get on any of the All-NBA teams, which means he missed out on about $40 million. And now Saturday here, Saturday afternoon, it looked like, he just goes ahead and throws it all away again. And I don't know how many times that the organization is going to keep giving him strikes. Right? Is it going to be a baseball situation? You get 3 strikes, and then your third strike, you're done? Because the NBA's sure as hell not going through that approach. They're seeing the first one as like, okay, you better learn from this, and now you messed up again. We're showing you cannot mess up ever again. Here's the biggest suspension anybody's going to get for doing something that isn't illegal, right? And it's just so upsetting to see this, man. Like, you would think he learned his lesson being suspended and kicked away or taken away from the team for a while because of it. I think it's an embarrassing moment, but I just don't know. He's just not thinking. He really just isn't thinking, and that's just the number one issue. Is just nothing is processing through his head. It looks like when these situations are coming up in his life, and I don't know. There's a lot of talk about potentially trading him. Do we trade him because of these situations? You don't know how many times he's going to continue to do this. Is this suspension really going to be, is it really going to send a message to him? Because at some point you got to look at it and realize that there are going to be people in your life. They're going to be around you. They're going to support you. But there's going to be people in your life that are going to pretend to support you and then ultimately bring you down. Be the start of your downfall. This friend of Ja's that was the guy who had the Instagram Live, he was in the club with Ja when the last gun was being held. When the whole Pacers situation happened, with the alleged drive-by pointing a gun, he was the main person in that. An altercation on the court with the Pacers, he was a part of that. When the whole Ja brought a gun out to get in front of the kid's face who punched Ja, he was a part of it. Right? It's just one thing stacked on top of another with this guy. And at some point you got to realize, like, he's not doing any good for you or your career. So you just kind of got to cut some people out in life. Everybody has cut somebody out of their life, whether they've wanted to or not, whether they've realized it or not, right? But for the benefit of themselves. And Ja's not realizing this, but at some point you got to cut people out of your life for the benefit of yourself. You have a daughter, you have a family that are really thriving because of you. You have great relationships through different sponsors and partnerships. Your teammates love you, your organization loves you. You have an entire city who have one thing in that town that they can finally all come back to and enjoy in the Grizzlies basketball, because there's so much shit that happens in that city that everybody just wants to escape from reality. Everybody wants to get away from everything going on in that city. And you are the sole person that is in charge of making people happy, bringing an extra part of happiness away from the reality, which is living in the city. And you have so much on your back. You have so much on your plate that is on the line, but you just don't get it. And I'm really hoping, I said this during the first time this happened, but I was really hoping that would have been the case to wake him up. But if this isn't the case that wakes him up, if this doesn't make a change for him because of this whole second incident of showing a gun on Instagram Live, if this is not going to change anything about him, then we got to make a change. I'll be honest. I love this guy more than most people. And I'm not saying we need to trade him now. We should trade him now. But you got to think in the back of Zach Kleiman's mind, this was supposed to be a big offseason. There were talks about going and getting all these guys. At the deadline, they went and traded for they tried to trade for so many people, throwing away all these first-round picks that are useful. And now it's like, well, Tyus Jones, one of the top guys that we could have traded this offseason. If Ja's going to be suspended for 30 games, why would we get rid of him? We need a guy now. So that limits that factor. If Ja's going to continue to be acting ignorant and stuff like that and be suspended more, or if we trade him, do we want to waste and trade all of our first-round picks if we're going to end up having to be living in the lottery for the next couple of years because of all this? So now we're at a crossroads in the organization of thinking, well, do we keep him and hope that he changes and build around it and make him realize how much he has to lose? Or do we just cut ties, let him loose, and hope that, he can change in a different place, but ultimately look towards the now and then the future of this team through a different person? It's just very questionable. And I'm not saying that we need to get rid of him now. I'm not saying that I want to get rid of him. I love that man. I want him to be on my basketball team until he retires. But at some point, from an organizational standpoint, you start to question and wonder and think about other opportunities. And if there's another incident after this one that comes up, then I'm out. I will be honest. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. But I'm giving him more benefit of the doubt than a lot of people are. I know for sure. I am giving him more leeway than anybody else is. I really just hope that this is nothing. Maybe he gets a 15-game suspension. Maybe something has a change of heart and they realize that, okay, maybe he messed up, but maybe we can just fine him a lot of money, right? Instead of suspending him, maybe suspend him 5 games or something. I'm hoping for the best here, because this really throws a wrench into our offseason plans completely does. But in other Grizzly news, Mikal Bridges and Desmond Bane are hanging out, so maybe that's cool. But who knows if we'll be even able to trade for him now because of all this stuff, and do we really want to waste anything anymore with all of our guys? It's frustrating. We'll get more into the Grizzlies whenever we come past or come through to their side of things in the offseason breakdowns, which will start Friday with the first 3 teams who are picking 1, 2, and 3 in the NBA draft, which we'll learn on the lottery on Tuesday. But let's just get right back to regular basketball. I don't want to keep talking about this and keep bringing negative light into all of the great basketball we've been seeing over this weekend. And one of the great basketball performances we saw over this weekend just happened literally before I started recording. And that was the Boston Celtics and Philadelphia 76ers playing their Game 7 with Jason Tatum scoring 51 points in that game. The game started out and it was like you watched Philly play, and they were playing with so much more pace. Boston was switching too much on defense. They were getting lost in transition, and it was just like if Philly keeps playing like this, they're going to run away with the whole game. And it was pretty close going up till halftime, and then in the third quarter, Boston just said, "Hey, I know we've been missing all these shots the entire first half, but we're just going to go off." And Jason Tatum, who has struggled so much this playoff series in first quarters, and especially last game throughout the entirety, shoots 17 for 28, 6 threes, 11 for 14 for the free throw line, and has 51 points and 13 rebounds. Jaylen Brown also had 25 for them. Brogdon 12 off the bench, who couldn't get 3 more points for me to help win my parlay, but that's besides the point. Boston absolutely deserves to move on after this performance. And if you're looking at it from the Philadelphia standpoint, your MVP shot 5 for 18 with 15 points and 8 rebounds because Al Horford, the greatest Gator of all time, Al Horford, is playing lockdown defense at 75 years old. He is locking down the MVP at 75. So if you're the MVP, you can't have that happen, but that seems to be a reoccurring thing with Joel Embiid in the playoffs. And then speaking of reoccurring things in the playoffs, James Harden shooting 3 for 11 in crucial games, 9.6 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? PJ Tucker hit 3 threes, had 11 points in the first half, had not scored the rest of the game. He gave you a starting point. Hey, you guys are struggling here. Here's all of these points I'm giving you that no one's expecting me to do. Now help. Help, please. Tyrese Maxey shot it, meh. Tobias Harris, he was really pushing in transition. That was kind of the reason that they were killing it in the first quarter, is because Tobias Harris was running out in transition and pushing the pace, and it was really leading them to an advantage there in the first half, the first quarter mainly. But then off the bench, Anthony Melton, 3 for 10. A lot of those misses came towards the end of the game, but you're not getting any help. So what does Philly do now? They fire Doc Rivers most likely. It's not confirmed, but it's been reported that there's a potential chance that he's gone if they lose this game. It would not surprise me in the slightest if he is gone within the time I stop recording, honestly. They need a fresh new start, and now with a certain coach being fired, which we'll get into after we break down the next couple games and series, they have some options now. So Boston will move on to the Western or the Eastern Conference Finals. They'll play they'll play Wednesday in Game 1, and they'll be playing against the Miami Heat, who won their game on Friday. Their Game 6 against the New York Knicks, 96-92. The 8 seed Miami Heat overcoming the odds, beating the Bucks in the first round, and then taking down the New York Knicks in 6 games in round 2. For Miami, Jimmy Butler didn't have the best efficiency game from scoring, but he had 24. And Bam being very important, 23. Kyle Lowry playing great off the bench with 11. And, I mean, the main story of this game is Jalen Brunson had 40 points, had only commit 5 or 6 turnovers the entire series. And the most crucial turnover happened at the very end of the game when he had somebody wide open. But it's not his fault. He had 41 points, but R.J. Barrett, 1 for 10. Only had 11 points because he was shot 9 for 10 from the free throw line. Julius Randle, I mean, I don't know how many chances do we keep giving to this guy, saying that he's good or an all-NBA player. 15 points, but 3 for 14, 1 for 7 from 3. Only all of his points came from the free throw line. The Knicks shot 32 free throws, and I think there was a stat I saw pop up that they were 9 for 11 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter, and the Heat didn't shoot a free throw until they had to intentionally foul, and it was just absurd. So again, with the Knicks, I don't know what they're gonna do going into the offseason. They're probably gonna make some changes as well. I wouldn't say coaching changes, but I'd say roster changes. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Again, I'll break them down at a later date. And then the other game that happened to clearing up that series after the Heat and the Knicks game, showing the Heat will play the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Western Conference Finals is set because the Denver Nuggets will be taking on the Los Angeles Lakers, who won their Game 6 on Friday night as well, 122 to 101. And this just wasn't even a game. From the start, LA just came out firing, not even firing from three. They just came out with much more energy, much more pace than Golden State. It looked like a team who wanted to keep playing versus a team who didn't want to keep playing. I'll be completely honest. LeBron, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. AD, 17 and 20. Austin Reeves had 23. D'Lo had 19. Lonnie Walker had 13 off the bench. Like, it was an all-around Lakers win. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, look at the free throw numbers, 42 to 14. Who gives a shit? They were getting their asses handed to them. It doesn't matter. When you have Klay Thompson making as many shots as he does rings, pretty much, that's not good. Sorry, he went 3 for 19. He has one more ring. I don't know if you guys have ever seen him do it before or if you know this at all, but Klay Thompson has 4 rings. He'll tell you every single time you ask him. He has, even if you don't ask, he'll show you he has 4 rings. So he has more rings than he did made shots in a winner-go-home game for the Warriors. Steph had 32. He didn't shoot great either, but at least he put points on the board. Wiggins was playing hurt. It came out before the game that he was going to test out his leg before the game. Was a game time decision. Ended up playing through it. DiVincenzo off the bench with 16 points. Looney 18 rebounds. My God. And then Jordan Poole, who is owed $30 million for the next 5 years, might I add, shot 3 for 10 with 7 points. So hope they have fun with all that. Draymond and Klay are up for extension. I think Draymond's got a player option or a team option. So, hey, good luck with all that. Just know you can't pay everybody max contracts like they all want. And if you do, then you're obviously doing something against the cap, and they're gonna and people are gonna challenge against it. So, good luck. Draymond says the dynasty's still on. Probably not. But thanks for the first round pick here in 2024. I appreciate it a lot. But for the Lakers standpoint, a lot of people obviously pick this to happen for them to move on to the next round, and it makes sense. Like, obviously, as a Grizzlies fan, I wanted to move on. But when I saw that we drew the Lakers in the first round, I had a bad feeling about it. The Lakers were the best team in the NBA in the second half of the season. If they had this same roster from the beginning of the year, they probably would have been a top 2-3 seed, honestly. And that's not just looking back at it now. Like, this is it's an honest thing. I think everybody understands that was going to be the case if it were to all happen and play out that way. So this LA team is much better than they were to start out. Now they play a Denver Nuggets team who is well rested, healthy, and has some revenge on the mind. Because if you do not recall, back in 2020 in the bubble during the COVID year, the Nuggets and the Lakers played in the Western Conference Finals. Anthony Davis hit a game winner to win one of those games. Jamal Murray had like 40 in like half the games that series. So they don't forget. They will never forget that series. It's been weighing on their minds, I assume. So they've been writing this down to get ready for it. Lakers and Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, and then the Heat and Celtics. If I remember correctly, I think they played in the Eastern Conference Finals in the bubble as well. So we're just getting a bunch of bubble rematches. Instead, we're in front of fans now. But both of those are going to be great series, honestly. I'm really excited for that Denver and LA series. I'm excited to see how Denver comes out and plays. I think that they can win this series. I really do. A lot of people obviously are against me on that, but I think that the Nuggets are very well-rounded and a good basketball team. I think they can win that. And then for Miami and Boston, I really don't know. I'm torn. I'd like to see Miami win just because I love Jimmy Butler. But, man, Jason Tatum is such a bad dude, man. He is so good. I don't know. It's a toss-up. Game 1 and Game 2 for the Lakers-Nuggets will be Tuesday, Thursday. And then Game 1 for the Heat and Celtics will be on Wednesday. That will be before I have the next podcast out. But in other news in the NBA, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. but someone got fired immediately after they got eliminated, and that would be Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns. Was dismissed from the team, I believe, on Saturday afternoon. It came as a shock, honestly. I was really not expecting that to happen. But then again, we're in the NBA where now if you lose a playoff series, if the roster construction is bad, if a player doesn't shoot the way that they should shoot, it's the coach's fault. So let's just go ahead and can them. And shout out to all the coaches who are really good and don't win Coach of the Year, because you guys are saving your jobs. Because it seems like if you win Coach of the Year, you're getting fired the next year. So good. I don't know what the Suns are trying to accomplish here. You got much more to worry about than Monty Williams. It said that they're going to be heavily pursuing Ty Lue, which, okay, sure. I can see Nick Nurse also being a part of that coaching search. But if I'm Milwaukee, after letting go of Budenholzer, shoot, I'm sitting back right now with Nick Nurse and Monty Williams being available. And it said the Bucks are looking to go after other random guys. Mark Jackson was one that interviewed for that job, it looks like. They said they want to go after other people who are already employed as head coaches in the NBA. You never know what can happen in that whole coaching sphere. But if anything else comes out and seems like it's going to happen, I'll have it all here on this show. That's kind of it for the NBA. If I'm forgetting anything, I'm sorry. I'm still wrapped up in the Jaw stuff. It's still frustrating, but the NBA lottery is on Tuesday night. The Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes come to a close on Tuesday, I believe at 7 Eastern on ESPN. I don't know exactly the time, but it'll be there. You get to see who they rig it to win the first overall pick and how it'll end up probably being Dallas somehow. So that'll be cool, but tune into that. I assume none of you guys who are listening are fans of any of the teams in the early lottery except for a couple of you. But I don't think any of you guys are Rockets, Pistons, or Spurs fans that I know that are listening. But if you are somehow one of those fans and are listening and hearing it, I hope you end up winning the lottery and get Wembanyama, because he's supposed to be a game changer for the organization. And it'll be exciting. I'm going to start doing my film breakdown on all the prospects here, the combines this week. And like I said, on Friday, I will bring you a offseason preview on the teams who draw 1, 2, and 3 in the lottery. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And let's just go ahead and move on into the NHL. And on Friday, the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs played their Game 5 in Toronto. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I know there's a Maple Leafs fan out here listening. And might want to hear me absolutely destroy the entire team or organization maybe, but that's not what I'm going to do. The Panthers beat the Leafs 3-2 in overtime. Nick Cousins with the game winner in OT puts them ahead and gets them the win, advancing them to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they'll take on the Carolina Hurricanes, who are a hot team. I don't know what's going on with Toronto. They kept turning the puck over in their own zone way too many times off terrible passes, mishandling the puck. Wool was staying on his head in the net for Toronto, but I mentioned it last episode. The Panthers were the President's Trophy winners last year for a reason. They were the best team in hockey last year for a reason. Right? They're a good constructed roster. Yeah, they got rid of some pieces, but they brought in Matthew Tkachuk, a Hart Trophy finalist, and he has changed this team up a lot. And this is going to be a series that, for the name value, not going to be as exciting. But for hockey fans, it's going to be one of the best. And I think the Hurricanes and Panthers match up with each other very well. Both have great goaltending at the current moment, with some older guys in net, but are very, very veteran to the game, have been there before, and know how to play in these types of games and situations. But man, I don't know what Toronto's going to do. I don't know if they're going to move on from Marner. I doubt they move on from Austin Matthews. Will Nylander be gone? Will Tavares be gone? Will they end up getting somebody in free agency and pay money for it with whatever cap that they have, if they have any. I don't know what's going to happen. Uh, it's weird for Toronto. I assume that a lot of people are about to get fired here pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. But I mean, I don't know. Toronto's a questionable team because you don't know. They can easily just run it back with the exact same team next year, and nobody will like turn their heads at all, and just be like, okay, Toronto's just doing their normal shit again. They're finding their own team, and they're gonna keep playing with it and hope that it eventually works when it probably won't ever. I was telling my buddy that the issue that I see with Toronto is that, and I think he agreed and said it as well, that it's very top heavy, right? They rely too much on Matthews and Marner and Nylander and Tavares and right, and obviously you do when you have your best players, you want to rely on those guys. But once you get past those top four, it's like a 8-tier drop off until the skill level of the next player. Michael Bunning's probably your next best player, and he's so inconsistent for them on the defensive side of things. You got way too many older guys. I mean, Rylan O'Reilly, they got in the at the trade deadline. He's very solid, but he's not going to be here next year most likely with his contract situation, with him becoming a free agent, and he's going to be wanting a lot more than Toronto can even give him, honestly. And then you just got a bunch of older guys, Giordano, Hole, just a bunch of guys that are just not really, as fast, has that same step in them anymore on the ice, that are just being outpaced by these younger teams or craftier teams like Florida. So it'll be interesting to see what Toronto do, but this is about Florida now. And Florida with Sergei Bobrovsky in net, Matthew Tkachuk, Alexander Barkov, Carter Verhaeghe, all these guys are going to be moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals to take on Sebastian Aho, Sam Martin-Hook, and Freddie Anderson in net for the Carolina Hurricanes. That's going to be a fun series to watch. And then moving on to the Western Conference side of things that isn't complete yet. As I'm recording, it's Sunday, but the game has not started yet. Vegas and Houston, or not Houston, geez. Vegas and Edmonton will be playing in their Game 6 because in Game 5, Vegas has a 3-2 series lead after that, winning a 4-3 game. We talked about some of the suspension that were going to happen for this game, and I thought that Edmonton was going to be able to come into Vegas and steal one, and they obviously didn't. It was the Vegas offense that outpowered this Oilers offense that scored. I think they scored 3 power play goals in this game. Skinner in net for Vegas got pulled. Jack Campbell had to come in, who former Maple Leaf signed for a lot of money in the offseason and has underperformed massively. And then Aiden Hill, who has just come in recently for the Vegas Golden Knights and is locking it down, doing a very fine job, made 32 saves. Like I said, only gave up 3 goals. I didn't really get to watch this one as much, but seeing some highlights and reading some stuff, it seemed like it was just a dominant offensive night from Vegas. They jumped out to a 2-goal lead, I believe, early. Edmonton jumped out to a 2-goal lead early, and then Vegas just put 3 up in the second period and kept their foot on the gas and ended up winning that game. And they'll be playing here later tonight in Game 6 in Edmonton. I don't know who can win that game at all either, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, this is do or die for Edmonton too. They're kind of in the same spot as Toronto in the fact of you have your top stars. You have Draisaitl, you have McDavid, you have Hyman, you have Nurse, and all these other guys, and Puljujarvi, and it's like, all right, you've got all these guys. That's great. But you also just paid $60 million for Jack Campbell to come be your goalie, and you're not even starting him in playoff games because he's been so bad, right? So it seems like one of those cursed organization things, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. If they don't come out on top tonight, then, like I said, the game hasn't happened yet, so I do not know. But if they do lose, there's going to be some changes that are definitely made in that organization. But for Vegas or Edmonton, whoever wins that game, they'll be taking on the winner of my Seattle Kraken and the Dallas Stars, who played their Game 7 on Monday night. That is going to be the game of all games right now. Their Game 6 happened on Saturday night, and I told you guys on the last episode that I was questionable going into that game on, what was our energy going to look like? How were we going to come out? Our fans were going to bring it, but were our players going to bring it? And boy, they brought it. I'll stop saying we. The Kraken got out to they didn't score 2 goals. They scored 2 goals in the first period. Dallas scored 1. It started off with a Yanni Gourde goal pretty early on in the first, and then 30 seconds later, Jamie Benn responds with a goal of his own. And it was just like, all right, cool, whatever. That's great. And then they come back down again eventually later in that period, and Jordan Eberle gets a goal on a power play, which on the power play, the Kraken looked outstanding. Outstanding. The puck was moving so much. They were in their spots. They were able to get the entry pass into the point a lot and get shots on net and wear down this Dallas Stars defense and goaltending, which Jake Ottinger, their starting goalie, got pulled after giving up 4 goals. They pulled him, and it wasn't even a Jake Ottinger issue. It was a Dallas's defense issue, and it was kind of a wake-up call. Like, hey, guys, we're pulling this guy. You got another guy in there now. This is your fault. Let's go. Wake up and play some defense. And they definitely did. They definitely responded after the goalie being pulled. I think they put 1 up after he was pulled, 1 or 2. But eventually, Seattle came out with much better effort in this game with their home crowd, and ended up winning the game 6-3 with Game 7 happening on Monday night back in Dallas. And this will be interesting. And I repeat myself from the last time I talked about this team in this series. And it goes to, will we come out with enough energy? On the road, you don't really have anything to feed off of, right? You have to create your own energy. You hear that a lot. Create your own energy. And that's what they got to do. They got to play with a lot of pace. They got to be able to win the forechecks, win those one-on-one puck battles in the defensive zone, and be able to get back out and transition on the breakaways, right? That's just kind of how we live and die by, right? We don't have one superstar on this team, but we've got a lot of really, really, really good players. And Philip Grubauer is playing unbelievable right now. So take advantage of his play. Tighten up the defensive end, because there's been a lot of defensive miscues throughout this series. But I'm excited for this Game 7. I'm more excited about Game 7 than I was Game 6. And Game 7 in Colorado in the first round ended up going our way. So I'm hoping history can kind of repeat itself. Nonetheless, I'm super proud of this team and super happy of the progression we have in year 2. Because it is year 2, you can't really base anything off the past with it. But this is exciting to be a fan of this team. It seems like management is ready to take that next step in this offseason no matter what. And that makes me the most excited about being a fan. But that's going to be it for the NHL. Like I mentioned, the Hurricanes and Panthers play in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that will start on Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know exactly which day. And then obviously the winner of both Dallas and Seattle on Monday will play the winner of either Vegas or Edmonton. If Vegas wins tonight on Sunday, you'll know that they play Vegas. But if not, we go to a Game 7. Game 7's on Tuesday night back in Vegas, and we'll see what happens then. But that's the NHL. Nothing else to really mention there. And we'll kind of kick it over to baseball. There's not really much going on besides the Red Sox. After me getting down on my knees for Kenley Jansen, he gives up and blows 2 saves. So that's great for that end. Bryce Harper tried to start a fight today on Mother's Day. Obviously, this guy's not a family man. Drew Rasmussen from the Tampa Bay Rays is looking to get Tommy John surgery. He's had a great year, pitched really well for the Tampa Bay Rays, who they just seem to find guys randomly off the side of the road that can pitch. They picked up Jake Diekman and Zach Littell from the Red Sox this week off of waivers. Let's see. I don't know what else there is necessarily. Wilson Contreras is starting to figure it out, looks like. Cedric Mullins hit for the cycle on Friday or Thursday or Friday. And Yuri Perez made his MLB debut, looked very good, had 7 strikeouts. So that's, the MLB, again, I say this every single time, but once all of these other sports kind of die down, we're getting real into the MLB. We'll do breakdowns of primetime games, breakdown of different teams. We'll talk about some of the best players, some of the guys to look out for. But right now, everything's being dominated by the core sports right now, and mainly basketball, honestly, because I don't think as many people are watching hockey, but it's all down to basketball. And that'll be it for baseball for right now. We're getting into conference championships for the college baseball season in the next week or two. So we'll start to see some of the field play out for the NCAA tournament, college baseball tournament. So that'll be fun to watch as well. But without further ado, we'll get into the last part of the episode where I absolutely ruin everybody's bank accounts by telling you my picks. Last episode, I gave you all my picks, and they were absolute hot garbage ass. So hopefully I come out with a little bit better of selection here over the next few days. This will be coming out on Monday, so it'll be a tough one to kind of judge right now. If you want to take the Kraken Stars game, go for it. Over 5.5 goals, I don't hate that. But that means it's going to be a 1-0 win as soon as I say it. But I'm still going to go with it because why not? For the NBA, game 1 between the Lakers and Nuggets. The Nuggets are 5.5-point favorites at home against the Lakers. I've been in a toss-up about this. And I think I'm going to go the route of the under here, 222.5. LA's got a really good defense. Denver can play really, really good defense. We've seen in this series. Against the Suns a little bit. They can kind of hunker down and play good defense. And they know how to handle role players, right? That was the big thing. Handle everybody else and just hope that Kevin and Devin shoot out of the gym and you eventually win the game. I'm going to go with under 222.5 there. And then for Miami and Boston on Wednesday, they already have an opening line. Boston's an 8-point favorite at home. You know what I'm going with now after seeing that. That's my live reaction to seeing it. Give me Miami plus 8. I know I gave you Philadelphia plus 7.5, and they lost by 75, but I don't care. I'm feeling this one. This is a really good one, I think. Miami plus 8. And then the total's 210. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards the under there, but that's not an official pick. Not an official pick. For the games on Monday in the MLB, Shohei Ohtani is pitching. Yep, give me the Angels money line there. Again, this is me on top of my mind, no preparation. Peralta's pitching against Flaherty and the Cardinals. Give me the Brewers money line on Monday night. Give me, I don't really know. These aren't great games. Give me the Twins money line as well on Monday night. They're playing really good baseball. They just swept the Cubs this weekend. They look really, really, really good there. So that's going to do it for this episode here on Monday. Like I said, the big important thing where it gets really fun for me, I know for me specifically because it's my favorite, the offseason breakdowns and the outlooks and some of the film breakdown of players that will start to happen on Friday. Like I said, whoever wins the NBA draft lottery on Tuesday night, the first, second, and third picks, all the teams that get those 3 picks will be my teams that I give a full breakdown and outlook to on Friday. So it's going to be a little bit longer of an episode on Friday potentially, but we're also going to have less basketball games to talk about going forward, as well as hockey. So we'll have a little bit more time to break those things down. So please tune in for those games. for those different outlooks that I'll give. And that'll be it. I hope you guys enjoy the games. I hope you enjoy the Game 7 tomorrow night. Potential Game 7 on Tuesday night if Vegas ends up losing it here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the Lakers and the Nuggets on Tuesday, and then the Heat and Celtics on Wednesday, and those games throughout the week. Thank you guys for listening. As always, I'm your host, Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest.